This is your Illinois Central College Law and Justice Program and course orientation, specifically for legal studies courses or criminal justice law enforcement courses taught by me, Tom Higgins. You can expect podcasts very similar to this orientation for many of your courses, although I will say that this is going to be a little longer than most of the podcast, and many of you are familiar with that fact. But those of you who have had other courses with me know that this is the way you succeed in these courses. Listening to what I'll provide in the podcast will help you understand the things you need to understand from each course in order to go out and implement, use, and develop your skills and your knowledge in those areas so you can be successful in whatever it is you decide you want to do in law and justice, whether that's be a law enforcement officer, be a probation officer, work in a jail, work at the courthouse, work for a lawyer, work for a judge, become a judge. We recently had one of my former students become a judge. Not the first, probably not be the last, and many have gone on to law school. Listen to the podcasts. And while you can listen to these files in your car, at the gym, on the treadmill, before you go to sleep at night, while you sleep, whenever, wherever, I've had some trouble sleeping at different times in my life, and then recent years, I've found some different apps that help you go to sleep, provide music or meditations or stories or whatever. Sometimes helpful, sometimes not. But wherever or however you listen to it at some point. And ideally, you listen to it with a pen and paper or your computer ready to take some notes. Make some notes for yourself. And assuming you have the ability to listen and take notes now, I'll get on with it. Because what I'm going to tell you is going to be relevant to what you need to do in the orientation for your course. There is an assignment based on the orientation. So as I said, I'm Tom Higgins. And for those of you who do not know me, I'm a first-generation college graduate, meaning that nobody prior to me in my family had ever gone to college. I graduated from Illinois Central College, first person to get a college degree. It's a pretty big deal in my family. That meant something. And for some of you, you're in the same shoes, right? So, wear it like a badge. I came to ICC not really knowing what I wanted to do, and I tried about everything. For a minute, I was doing radio and TV. We had an actual program, radio and TV. Worked at a radio station, third shift, for a little while. But I was also a member of a fairly successful men's basketball team. I worked in what was then called public safety as a cadet. That's now campus police. Later, I was an officer after I turned 21 and graduated and moved on. I came back as an officer part-time while I was pursuing my bachelor's degree. And I earned my degree here in law enforcement. For those of you in the law enforcement program, that's the degree I started out with. We didn't have a transfer degree, a criminal justice degree. We didn't have a legal studies degree. We didn't have the 911 dispatch at the time. And that's the degree I took before I went on to Bradley, where I graduated with a degree in administration of criminal justice. I continued on that law enforcement path, moved to the Chicago area, The intent was to continue my education with a Juris Doctor, a law degree. And I graduated with that law degree in 1990, way before most of you were born, I'm sure. From what is now the University of Illinois Chicago Law School. At the time I graduated, it was the John Marshall Law School. I'm also a graduate of the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign with a Master of Online Teaching. That's a certificate, not a master's degree. That was many years ago, and I was one of the first people to ever teach an online class in the state of Illinois at an ICC. I've taught here full-time since 1996. In addition to teaching courses in the programs you're enrolled in, I also have produced and presented continuing ed for lawyers, continuing ed for legal assistants and paralegals and support staff of law offices and lawyers, and continuing education courses for police officers, working police officers through the Illinois Training and Standards Board and the Police Training Center located in Poplar Hall at the Illinois Central College campus in Peoria. Those of you who have had me in other courses know this, and until you have me, you won't believe me, but you can contact me anytime for questions or support regarding your course, the program, career fields, career options, education options after you leave ICC, whatever related to what you came here for. Now, I should qualify anytime. I don't like to say I'm old, but I'm old. I'm in good shape for an old grandpa, but I'm old and I sleep. And so there will be hours of the day that you can't reach me. The phone is on whatever it is, silent or off or I don't know, but you're not going to get a hold of me. I do rise early. I will get back to you. If you leave me a text, a voicemail, send me an email, making sure I know who you are, what you need, what your question is, I will get back to you. And if it's something urgent, I will get back to you as urgently as I can. Okay? I promise. So come to me for those questions. Go to your instructor for specific questions or concerns in any course. But for anything related to any of the programs that I've already listed off, right? Legal studies, law enforcement, criminal justice, 911 dispatch, the programs within our public services area at the college that I teach in, come to me. I know the career paths. I have the interns for all those programs. I'm directly in contact with the employers. If I can't answer your question, I will get you to someone who can answer your question, okay? But don't hesitate to reach out, especially with questions about class. Now, on questions about class, don't come to me and say, I don't understand. Tell me exactly what it is that you don't understand by telling me what you've read or what you've come across that's created this issue or this lack of understanding. Okay, give me some specifics, and I will definitely help you any way I can, and especially all the way through. And, I mentioned we just had one of our graduates become a judge. I've been part of his journey all the way through from the time he transferred till the time he came back and taught for us, and he was in various things in the practice of law and when he was running for judge. And I will do that for you. I'm happy to do that. I will help you with any questions at any point about your career or your education. Like me, instructors at Illinois Central College, in my experience, both as a student and then having, come back here to teach for almost 3 decades, is that they come to their courses with 2 things in mind. They want to see you succeed. They want to see you get where you need to get. And they want to see that you are competent in whatever that is. Now, I have 2 things in mind. I want you to see the law and justice career fields we have devoted our lives to serve. And I want to see you go into those career fields as competently and successful as the people who are teaching you courses have been. I want to see you put in the work and earn the knowledge and skill that'll help you develop so you can be one of those competent and successful individuals in your chosen field. Now, I mentioned a little bit about the program history by giving you my history, but you should know this, and a lot of times we just kind of gloss over when we don't think about how things got where they got. How did this come to be? So, as I said, I have a law enforcement degree. It was originally police science, formed in 1969, 2 years after the college opened, by my mentor and predecessor, Roy Doc Wright. Doc was his nickname because at the time, police officers didn't go get law degrees, Juris Doctor degrees, or PhDs. I have friends who are police officers or retired police officers who earned their PhD while they were working the street. So police science became law enforcement, the program we know as law enforcement today. The more transfer-friendly criminal justice program came along sometime later in response to a national trend for bachelor's degrees in criminal justice. Most of those bachelor's degrees are criminology-based, more theory-based, less science-based or technical-based than I would like. When I say that, I have a criminal procedure course for police officers out there that goes through everything from when you first encounter an individual on the street and how you should act and react and have conversations with and explore whatever it is you're encountering that individual for, all the way through if you have to arrest that individual and how to do those things safely. It's technical. There are parameters of the law that you will learn in my classes that help you understand how that should occur. But almost every aspect of that has some sort of physical movement, has some sort of expectation of interaction, of words, of demeanor, and all these other things. And unless you're conscientious about that and intentional and practice it, you're not going to be good at it. So that's why I say, when I learned it was more of a science. In any event, we eventually added the final piece to our programs, the 911 dispatch program that came up more recently. And it's the program that fills the need for 911 emergency dispatchers. There's a few television shows about that in recent years, and you have a good idea that it's fairly intense, sitting behind multiple screens, talking to multiple people, and keeping track of multiple things that need to be kept track of so you can help direct public services to whatever they need, police, fire, ambulance, etc. And then finally, legal studies. And legal studies is a post-degree certificate. There may be students in this class or in your classes who are working towards an associate's degree. Typically that has been criminal justice or the business transfer degree, while also pursuing the legal studies certificate. Their intent is typically to work or continue working in the legal services field, earn their bachelor's degree in criminal justice or business or whatever their associate's is going to be in, and then they have an eye on law school. They intend to pursue law school, or they intend to go to work in a law office or in the court system or in the corporate world at State Farm. I have referred to our current programs as both law and justice and public service programs because that's what we prepare you to do. Serve the public in the law and justice. To that full parameters of law and justice, we prepare you to serve the public. And that you're serving the public if you're working for a private entity or private law firm. Our programs are one of the primary sources for law and justice employers, public and private, throughout Central Illinois, and beyond. We've had graduates working all over the United States, and there's no doubt if you live in this region, the Central Illinois region, that you have dealt with one of our graduates, and if you haven't, somebody in your family or circle has, and you eventually will. Some way, shape, or form. You can find out more about our programs. You can see the jobs that we post. You can find out about a lot of different things on our webpage. ICC Law is how we tag it. ICClaw.info is how you get there. So that's a history and an introduction to the programs. So let's talk a little bit about tips that will help you be successful in our programs, in your courses. Tips that will translate to you being successful in whatever your law and justice career happens to end up being. From the moment you enroll in this course through the day you walk out the door as another of our accomplished and successful graduates, we have one goal: to help you develop and know how to constantly improve your skills to become competent, confident, and employable, serving in law and justice. So improving and practicing your knowledge and skills in the law is something you'll need to do your entire career. The fact of the matter is, you'll be expected to grow continually to work to acquire and develop knowledge and skills that will be expected of you in the workplace, and to put in the effort necessary to become and remain competent in the law. To that end, I'm going to give you the most important expectations for successful students in our programs, expectations that we promise you will lead to your success in the field. The first one's a word that you don't hear very often in a college course: professionalism. Most of the jobs you hope to get after you earn your degree or certificate require that you take and uphold an oath to abide by and follow the Constitution and the laws of the United States and the state of Illinois. It's not a if, it's a must. And if you don't end up in one of those jobs where you directly have that oath and that duty, you're working for somebody who has. And so you have to follow those same expectations. Again, it's not an if, it's a must. It's not a oops, sorry, it's an oops, fired. If you violate that oath, and I'm sure you've seen the examples of people in law enforcement and other areas of the law and justice system who get in trouble, embarrassed, perhaps convicted of a crime, sometimes sent to jail themselves for violating that oath in some way. You know that's the case. If this is a career path you want to take, start adopting the expectations for professionalism today. And what do I mean by that? Abide by the law. Work to avoid breaking the law. Be honest. Don't lie. Don't cheat. Don't steal. Don't do things you may be expected to arrest or cite other people for doing if you are fortunate enough to land a position in your desired career field. Don't do things that you're going to represent or work to help represent people who've gotten into trouble doing things that have landed them in a bad position with the law. Now, to some degree, and for most people that I encounter in this program, I'm preaching to the choir. Now, do you sometimes forget to put your seatbelt on? Yeah, maybe. But when the car starts beeping, you put it on. Do you follow the law generally? Do you pay your taxes? Do you try to avoid lying, cheating, or stealing? Do you try to be honest? And let me tell you something. Not everybody, in fact, nobody is honest all the time. I just believe that from my core at this age. But I believe people who work to be professional and have character work to be honest. They work to be honest. They don't lie, they don't cheat, they don't steal, they try to follow the law. Now, sometimes it means that you might have to evaluate who you're hanging out with. And you don't hang out with certain people who may be doing things that run contrary to the law. I know that I faced that at a point in my life when I decided that this was the path I was going to take. There were people that I occasionally hung around with, people from the neighborhood, people I'd grown up with, people I cared for. But we were young and I was taking one path and they were taking another. And we just respectfully went our separate ways. And typically that wasn't a problem. In fact, later in life, it definitely wasn't a problem. I mean, they respected that I did. And may have contacted me to be their lawyer a few times. Sometimes it means you lose points in class because you forgot to do your work on time and you don't make excuses or expect to pass because you don't make excuses or expect to pass in the workplace when you're serving other people, serving the public in law and justice. So you take the hit now and you develop the intent here out that you do what you need to do the job on time to the best of your ability. If you develop these traits and you make these things expectations for yourself now, in this course, in these programs, in your daily life, and you carry those expectations forward, you will get a job and you will be successful in your career. I'll say that again. You will get a job and you will be successful in your career. So make the commitment to work within these standards. Be professional. The time to begin learning and adapting to living and working with the character and professionalism that will be expected of you in law and justice is right now. today and every day after today. Experience has shown me that students who work diligently to master and abide by the professional responsibility and character expectations of their career field end up in better jobs and more satisfying careers. You will find success in the law if you accept, adapt to, and practice expectations of professionalism now. The next category, again, maybe not the norm when you're looking at being introduced to a college course, but it's organization. It's organization. How organized are you? I think that for some of you, you become comfortable asking for help from devices, taking shortcuts, finding the quick answer. And let's be honest, not always putting in the level of effort that might have been expected. But let me tell you, most public service, law and justice careers are document and information intensive. Organizing things and communicating what you've organized requires planning and a significant amount of time and effort. Successful graduates set aside time to plan their assigned work, tasks, and jobs in order to make their workflow smoother and more efficient. They organize their work with detailed to-do lists. They keep track of what do I need to have done by tomorrow, by a week from tomorrow, by a month from tomorrow, and they update that and they keep their workflow going. They review and update those lists to stay on task and meet all deadlines. They do not miss deadlines, and they do not need to make apologies or excuses. And, deadlines in our area are deadlines. If you miss something you're supposed to do in our area, somebody gets harmed or you get harmed because you're supposed to be at court. You can't say, oops, I forgot. You're going to be encouraged to develop your own systems and methods for staying organized, but you'll also be given some tried and true methods for doing so. And you'd be wise to begin to adopt these methods during your time as a student. Experience has shown that students who use their calendars, create to-do lists, update those lists, and plan their time. When I say plan their time, if an assignment's due on Thursday at noon, start working on that Thursday the week before. By the Thursday it's due, you should have that thing so clean, so good, so organized, so detailed, so complete, because you've done the work over the course of several days. Most law and justice careers require you perform tasks that are similar to the tasks that you're going to be assigned in my courses by deadlines, with no exceptions and no excuses. They're not arbitrary. They're set by the court a lot of times. And we can't go in and say, oh, well, I was distracted. I didn't get to that. Really, there's no excuses. You usually have plenty of time to plan and execute, so plan and execute. Now, one of the unique things about all of our public service career fields is that you're constantly juggling many tasks at once. As an example, in law enforcement, you're often informed of your next potential case, your next call, before you're cleared from the one that you're on. If you work in a law office, you may represent many clients with many diverse and different matters. And while you may plan to sit down and complete a particular task over a few hours, you're more likely than not to be interrupted by a telephone call from a client, a request from one of your supervising lawyers, or some task that requires your immediate attention, and your plan to focus on that one job may be put off by minutes, hours, days. If you're a probation officer, you may be sitting in your office and trying to prepare to testify in a pre-sentence hearing when you get a call that one of your probationers just got arrested for another crime. Rarely, if ever, do we find time to focus on and complete one task before being pulled to some other thing we're expected to take care of. So, being organized is imperative. It's a must. It's also a reason that you have to develop the ability to be flexible and multitask. This is a skill you'll develop, and it's one that's necessary for anyone in a public service career field. Again, something that makes organizing and prioritizing your assigned task absolutely vital. Now, you're going to have multiple assignments in various classes over the course of your semester. The expectations are that you complete those assignments to the best of your ability on time with no excuses. So you need to use a calendar. I use the Google Calendar. I've got Microsoft Outlook through the college, but I use the Google Calendar because I can access it from my phone. I can sync it to my other calendars, and I can access it from my phone. It's just easier for me. But use a calendar. I don't care what calendar you use. Use whatever one is on the phone that you use. But use a calendar. Create and update your to-do list. And then make and keep the time to do the work. And when I say make the time and do the work, I mean make sufficient time to do the work to the best of your ability. No last-minute, half-hearted effort. No, I was playing some game with my friends and got carried away or forgot or yada, yada, yada. None of that. If you're serious about this career field and about doing well in this class, no last-minute, half-hearted efforts. Trust me, your career will be successful, or it will die, based on your ability to use a calendar to plan and consistently put in the work you must put in to be able to do your best work and meet every deadline. There's no extra credit on the job. You might get bonuses, you might get extra duties, you might get extra pay for doing things and get opportunities that other people don't because you do a bang-up good job. But there's no extra credit on the job, and there's no extra credit in my classes. There's definitely no extra credit if you didn't do the work. Don't come to me with the, I know they teach you or allow that stuff in high school, but, hey, I know I missed the week 6 and week 10 and didn't turn anything in or do a thing, but can I get some extra credit to boost up my grade? No. No. Because you're not going to get that in the career field, and that's what I'm here to prepare you for, all right? So I don't care about grades. Nobody ever asked me about grades. They asked me if you can do the job. When they call for a reference, they asked me if you can do the job. Do you have the character, the ability, the willingness to work, the ability to adapt to what they need to do the job? Nobody cares what your grade point average is. Now, there's definitely a correlation between whether you put the effort in to earn the grade that you could earn. There's a correlation between somebody who puts in that effort and then goes out and finds success in the career field. Experience has shown me that students who prioritize and plan their class assignments, they multitask and plan their time so they can complete all expected tasks and assignments on time to the best of their ability, have little trouble adapting to these expectations in the real world. They adapt in the real world. They find success in their chosen career path. You'll be successful after you graduate if you commit to these things now. So get organized. Stay organized. Be organized. The next one is communication. Now, whether it's talking to clients in the law office, interviewing a victim or witness, or working with other law and justice or court personnel, you're going to be expected to have good people skills and to communicate verbally, in person, and by telephone. You have to express your thoughts clearly, and as importantly, you have to be able to record and convey anything you learn, and any of those conversations, any of those verbal communications, you have to be able to record it and then communicate it well in writing, in some sort of report or memo, documenting what was said by you, by the other people, what you observed. You have to be prepared to document the details of every such conversation, including the dates, times, people you talk to, subject matter, and every detail of the conversation. You need to find out, if you don't know, what active listening is. And you need to practice your active listening skills. Go on YouTube and find some videos that help you develop your active listening skills. Little hint. Sometimes how people say something is way more important than what they say. Active listening. Writing skills and written communication are also essential in these career fields. Most of this writing comes by way of reports or internal memorandums required in your daily tasks. Police officers, as an example, are expected to document every interaction and conversation with anyone they interact with in an official capacity. Legal assistants, lawyers, involved in drafting court documents and correspondence. 911 dispatchers are documenting every aspect of every interaction every second of their workday. And most everything you communicate, verbally or in writing, is going to be reviewed by someone, by your supervisor, your peers, lawyers, court personnel, and judges. And for some of you, the public. So take the time and make these written communications something that will reflect well of you and accurately of the facts you seek to communicate. You'll want whatever you documented to be accurate and you to be able to go back and review it to help you out at some point. Formal professional communications expected in these careers, and you have to work to create those communications. You have to accept that those communications will be reviewed by other people. And you're going to review the work of others as well. Regardless of your position, you have no choice but to be open to giving and receiving constructive comments relating to the communications you make. And you're going to practice that in my courses in various ways. It's not a nice job, Sam, really liked your post. It's well, Sam, I don't think that the case that you were presenting was really on point on an issue of battery committed in Illinois. Your case talked about robbery. You got to call Sam out. And Sam's got to say, you know what? You're right. You'll notice in the syllabus, I essentially tell you, forget about AI. Except to check your grammar and spelling of something that you wrote, you still need to proofread. You still need to write. You still need to create the documents that you create for my classes. You still need to own whatever it is that you post in my classes, because guess what? ChatGPT or AI won't be with you when you're sworn in to testify in a case and put in that witness chair next to the judge facing the jury. It won't be something you turn to when your boss calls you in to explain some action you took or some report or document you turned in as part of your job. So do your own work, own that work, and be ready to stand by it, because that's what these jobs require of you. And you want this job to require exactly that of you. Because once it ever doesn't, you won't have a job. I don't think we're going to get there fully in the law. You can see it going that way in many career fields, but for now I don't see that. That said, what I do see is if you're not willing to use those kind of things as tools to help you be better at what you do, and you lose that edge of taking ownership, and it goes back to what I said many minutes ago now. If you're going to use it as a shortcut to give you an easy path so you don't have to put any time, effort, and work, you're going to get burned. It's going to be something that comes back to bite you. Do your own work, own it, and be ready to stand by it, because that's what these jobs expect. And you're going to practice these expectations in class. You'll be expected to communicate in a professional manner. In the courses, no emoji, no slang, no informal text-type talk, complete sentences, good grammar, spelling, and an effort to provide clear and original, not cut and paste, plagiarized, AI-generated nonsense. Your effort and thoughts. It's an expectation of this course. Experience has shown that students who work in class to meet expectations in both areas of communication, verbal and written, find job satisfaction in their career field. To that end, you're going to be expected to communicate with your instructors and fellow students in ways that allow you to practice the forms and formats of verbal and written communication expected of you after you graduate and become employed in law and justice. Now, I've talked a little bit about effort. You know, there's a lot I could say about effort. And, you know, from what I've outlined so far, I think you get the gist. We're willing to work with you if you're willing to work. And we can pretty much guarantee that you'll have a job if you're willing to work. Whether you're really putting in that effort, you know, to some degree only you know, but as a fair notice and warning, Canvas keeps data for days, times, and information access. In my career fields, or in our career fields, and I teach, if you have CRJ 230 this semester, the evidence course, well, you know, in my career fields, the evidence course, we call this evidence. Canvas tells me when you logged in, what time, what information you accessed. If the evidence indicates that you log into the course or all of your courses at the last minute in the final day and hours before the course deadline or the assignment deadline, it suggests you aren't giving the assignment and the course the average hours any 3 ECH course would expect for an 8 or 16-week course. Well, then you can expect that you're not likely to get an extension if you come with some excuse or a reason that you need an extension. You wouldn't expect a raise or most likely continued employment if that was your approach to the job. So know that while I don't have any idea, and to some degree I have to trust you that you're putting in the effort, typically I can tell by what you've posted, by what your assignment says, by what your responses or reply posts or self-evaluations say. But Canvas tells me to the minute. And it kind of begs the question of why you'd expect it here when the main objective of you being here is to earn the knowledge and experience you're going to need to be successful on the job. Bottom line, if the law is a path you want to pursue, if law and justice, the public services careers, it's a path you want to pursue, do the things that we ask of you and we suggest you do, and you're going to earn the knowledge and skills you need in the law, and you'll do well in class, and better yet, you'll do great in your career. Now, real quick, I just want to say a few things about the classes. You'll find a detailed syllabus that outlines the objectives of the course, expectations of the course, the expectations to earn grades in the course, weekly deadlines, the content that's going to be covered on a weekly basis. For many courses that I teach, there is not a textbook. There are a few that there are still textbooks, and I'm trying to get rid of those textbooks. I haven't found suitable replacements yet, and I don't have the time teaching all the different courses I have to teach to create that content. But for some of the courses I've done that. The law is public domain, meaning it's yours, mine, all of ours. And where possible, we help you learn where the law is, where you can find the law and use the law for your coursework and your life and the law after you graduate, your career. Whenever possible, I provide either documents or links to direct you to free reading materials we have available through the library or materials that I've collected or I present. But you're expected to take the initiative to read those things, and sometimes to go to other sources that you're directed to go to read the law, to find a criminal statute, or to read a statute, or to read a case, or to find a case and present a case. And you're going to practice and build those skills in your courses. Now, I'll provide guidance, clarification, and feedback in addition to those resources. I provide guidance initially by way of the podcast or course documents linked to the course site. I expect you to listen to any podcast provided in conjunction with the assigned reading for any given week and make time to do both. The reading provides a base and the podcast provides a more succinct guidance. Think of the podcast as a classroom lecture you're familiar with from a traditional course. The difference is that if you did the prep work of doing the assigned reading, the podcast is to the point, often with examples and insights, and it helps clarify and guide you towards learning the content so you can complete the week's assignment. You can expect to continue your education in the law for many years to come, much in the same way. That's how this course is set up, is how I've been setting up my continuing ed courses, for instance, the Police Training Center. More and more continuing education in the law is presented in this way. I also provide feedback in three primary ways. First, after you make your initial post for an assignment, I typically post my own detailed response to the assignment that I gave you for a given week. Where necessary, I may make specific comments for all students. I may make comments directly to one post out of concern, or because you made a point that everyone else needs to focus in on and notice. And I may contact you individually if necessary to discuss anything that we might need to discuss. And then third, on larger projects, I typically post comments directly to you in the grade book. You also find comments typically in the grade book when you do not earn points because you didn't do the work, didn't turn something in on time or something like that. And hopefully that won't ever be the case. And as I said before, I'll be there to support your efforts and communicate with you by telephone, remote, when possible in person, and help you navigate the course, the program, and the career. I expect the same in return. If you're going to be late with an assignment, the reasons and the contact need to reflect the type of reasons and contact that we would expect you to provide to an employer. And remember, if you haven't logged into the course in a week and don't log in until after the deadline, what's your excuse? We're talking about, and I could give you all sorts of incredible stories of students who have needed an extension under crazy circumstances, and they went above and beyond. All of them become incredibly successful. I had a student a long time ago that her husband was frantically calling me at home as she's going in to have a C-section to have twins delivered. I have no idea what that was like to have a C-section, have twins delivered. I do know that she wasn't supposed to be back in class for a while, and a week later, she shows up for a night class. Like, what the hell are you doing here? I didn't want to miss anything. That was back in the old days when everything was in class and we didn't have internet access to do anything. I've had a student whose child on immediate notice had to get to St. Jude in Memphis, diagnosed with cancer. And she had to up and go, and she was down there for 6 months. And, we worked it out. I don't know how she did the work, and she did the work to a level that was incredible. And then she had a very successful career, and the child is fine, and he's an adult now, and all good. The point is this. I'll do whatever I can for you, but you have to do whatever you can for you. All right? You do what you can do for you. I'll provide you with the map that helps you move through the course. I'll help you learn a topic, develop a skill, find an internship, find a job. I can provide advice for preparing for the career in general, interviewing, testing, preparing to earn a particular job. Advice for keeping a job or moving from that job to another opportunity years after you graduate. I have those conversations all the time with people who have graduated long ago. I stay in regular contact with the employers and former students. I post internships and jobs on the ICC Law site, and I coach and mentor you towards those jobs. You'll have me for the internships, and I'll do whatever I can to help you be successful in your career. But just as was the case with Doc Wright and what he did for me many years ago, the opportunities that will come your way and what you do with those opportunities is a direct reflection on the time and effort you put into this and your other courses. So there you have it. That's all I needed to say in the orientation. Go to your course or courses, read the syllabi, get the due dates for week 1, put them in your calendar, and get to work. And as you'll hear me say in most of my podcasts, because I think I forgot for a little streak recently, I had medical issues, surgery, and I was a little off for a little bit. But what I typically say, and what I always mean, whether I say it or not, is if you need me, you know where to find me.